Hey party people! What's going on? Happy Monday. Soon to be Tuesday. I've made it. I made it. Another day in the row. I really enjoy this because it helps me keep track of my daily downloads, and I have a place to share them so that if anyone benefits, they can find me. So, the energy of today. I guess I did all that sort of grieving shit last week. Well, I mean, I say last week. It was 2 days ago. Leading into now. Really set some intentions last night. Got to do some psychedelics. And that was incredible. And felt like I used it intentionally with ritual even to exercise some conscious creative control. And I really want to talk about that as far as I mentioned before, how we're sort of coming down, integrating each of our chakras. When we first wake up, we get this knowledge, this connection, this knowing. Crown chakra explodes. Then this third eye is doing whatever. Andrea Land, grieving goddess, mystical being I am so blessed to know, mentions how during a lot of that, when I was sort of going through the void, I barely had the energy to even conceptualize how the world was handling the verdict. And but that's ultimately actually what brought me out and into the moment, because I had something bigger to focus on than just my own little story. Andrea mentioned last night how a lot of people around that time were dealing with throat chakra issues. Just even pain. I was with Nimue, and those days having this crazy, not being able to touch my chin down, sort of to my chest type of pain. Very stiff, and I didn't know why, because I'd actually been sleeping in a more comfortable place than normal, so it seemed like my neck would be relaxed. And I didn't even put it together, but what I was thinking about, just in my own sort of chakra understanding, the heart chakra being this, I've really been opening up to receiving in a lot of ways, and it just keeps getting deeper. But COVID-19 in general was this huge heart chakra activation, I feel on a collective level, as far as healing and connection. We have to keep our hands to ourselves, and going about knowing how we are connected and finding each other and blah 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 blah. So hopefully, then going down into the solar plexus, which I'm definitely dealing with, because I am incredible, imposter syndrome, lack of confidence, insecure all the time. Breaking that down, finding my empowerment, finding how empowerment empowers others, but seeing how in my sort of bringing in my heart chakra, that color code, sort of theory of things that Jessica and Oscar talk about, and Nimue, this blue and the green, and the yellow, having to be in sync. And as I'm activating a lot of my personal power, that whole verdict trial thing was an example of the oppression that we sort of carry with us. We just sort of go forward knowing that, expecting the injustice. How do we find that power? How do we change, things that maybe we're not fully cognizant of? It felt like this public execution, like a hanging. And that's what Andrea was getting at about the throat chakra stuff, was maybe we're healing something, on a broader level that has to do with that empowerment piece. Because, when you're at a protest chanting, I can't breathe, I cry at weddings. I don't even believe in marriage. You can feel that it's bigger than the whole race paradigm. It is humanity and our structures and how, like justice and, a lot of things. Yeah. And that's, was sort of the download that brought me out of feeling my powerlessness was, fully embodying in this moment so that I can fully see, what this is as the past and grieve it so that I may be in the fullness of who I am in each moment. And so then trying to change the timeline for others, it's like, why am I judging this timeline? Like, that's the dark side of abundance, this knowing that everything must exist in order for any of it to exist. And in that everything must exist, like, why am I judging the beings who are incarnated here with me in this timeline? Why would I want to change their sort of autonomy? How do I change the reflection of what I'm experiencing? And I feel like I saw that reflected in some ways on the broader scheme of things. But so going down into this, this empowerment, it's not just our power, it's empowering each other. And then through speaking our truth, yeah, you got your keys. And then the sacral chakra, which I'm like so bad at, like between the yellow and the orange, it's like I'm not even there. My body just sort of stops. I'm a floating torso. The sacral sort of energy of relationships, right? Relativity, how we connect with each other. So in this intimacy, right? Intimacy, we are able to see ourselves in others, but it's this power that moves through us. Then I remembered like, oh yeah, this happened during the Virgo full moon. I just like had this crazy moment of play and turned the TV on, and I had a broader intention to kind of like turn on music, a specific song even, eventually, and the TV just popped on. The remotes were across the room, not even in reaching distance of the other person that was in the room that saw this happen. And my phone was already connected to the TV and everything. Normally I have to, manually, whatever. But it just made me realize, like, the way I've been talking about justice is we can't enact it ourselves. We can only trust that balance will right itself and that we can hope to be a part of that balancing, whether we are being called into balance or calling others. It's not about reward or punishment. It's about this thing that moves through us that we sort of start to trust. And I think that's how our telekinesis and even telepathy, telepathy is something, it's this field that we exist in, this sort of sea of things. And it's not necessarily like I choose to pull this thought out of you or I choose to move this, coffee cup across the table. There was a broader movement that I got to be a part of because I was in flow, I was in play. And so then watching the trees when I was at the park in San Diego, just like taking a fucking nap on the ground. It was like, the wind, the trees do move, but we call it wind. And I realized like that solar plexus is the people, we don't think that we move, or we think we move and are choosing and are moving ourselves, but we're really just leaves in the wind of our desire. And that's been, coming up a lot for a while. I started this reading with Serafina where I just like felt this like inevitability to really like do what we want to do, like on a deep level of like, it's almost scary. It takes your stomach, right? Like the rug's pulled out from beneath us. Of like, what do we, it's like, do we make this leap of like doing what, and it's like, yeah, you could not, but it's like a completely different operating system. And so then I think when we finally fully activate that root chakra, root, it's blood. Our blood is our heritage, so healing things on a broader spectrum of our DNA. I think it'll be a more conscious interaction with our physical world in that essence of reality, the zoetrope, the projector, the evolutionary component of all the things. So, all that aside, in that, knowing that is a broader movement that we can hope to be a part of if we're in the flow, and that's the reflection or whatever, the most important thing that we can do, the most valuable thing in any moment, right, besides like focusing on your breath or just being present, it's to play play, because our imagination is what we are. It's who we are. And that's what like the whole psychic activation is understanding like, but it's just my imagination. It's like, well, you're the radio. If you trust what you're tuning to, and you know, it has to be like a first and foremost, you know, like if you're learning tarot cards, it's like, I trust the cards. I trust the first thing that comes to mind. There cannot be any deviations from that, or else, you know, what can I trust? And then if you don't trust something, you whatever, that is us. That we are really that which we perceive as, you know, dreams. So, in that knowing of ourselves as that imagination, we bring imagination into action through play. And that can look a lot of different ways. But, you know, how do we manifest? How do we find control over our reality in a way that is truly empowering? And it's, you know, changing our beliefs, looking at our beliefs, playing make-believe. So, it's something like every few years, like I get it, you know, and then I forget. So this is me sharing it in my clarity before I forget again. Please remind me later. It was like 2016, I think, when I got into like flow arts, and I was very rarely in a car that wasn't full of drugs. And so I was very anxious about cops. But I realized, you know, when you're in that state of play and flow and you're just like being in it, you know, like being present, but also bringing in that, you know, imaginal stuff, no one can touch you. You are just, you're creating your own thing, and you're untouchable. Unless you want to be touched, which I guess that's that sacral stuff. Oh, and it's another thing about the sacral, with the relationship, with the relativity, as we're activating, those experiences are going to seem outside of time, right? Because it's going to be an expanding in our literal understanding of relativity.
It's nowness.
Nowness. Because it's like, I know how I activated my sacral, but now that I'm like moving down there, or, you know, even thinking about it, I'm like, oh, these other moments of time where that must have already been sort of happening. Absolutely. 1624, would you like a card or have a question? Or if anyone else joining, leaving, has a question, feel free to always DM me or whatever, because I love the opportunity to read people. It always brings me to a better understanding, so I see that as the mutually beneficial energy exchange. But please do not feel pressured to get a card, because I know it's a very vulnerable thing. I feel vulnerable in giving the readings. It's like such a thing to like, you know, read somebody, because you're just like saying, oh, this is how I see the world and how I see you and how I interpret your energy. It's like, it feels very personal to me, but in that vulnerability there is a lot of fun to be had, right? Having just a really nice day. I got a lot of good things done. I wrote a letter to lawyers and posted it on my website, psychosomatic.com, if you're interested in what I am dealing with in my life right now and the insanity of my old timeline. I'm just gonna pull a few collective cards before I hop off here for the people who watch later, or the people watching from the past. Got the medallion. Ooh, beautiful. And so that's what number LIX. Lix the medallion. I feel like there's got to be something in there. What is LIX? 59? 59. We're going to say it's 59.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 and 9. 9 is like this winner completion, right? And 5 is like that risk of it could have been lost, but you're on that upside. Cherish those moments, because we know that in that moment, it's like we're always disappointed almost sometimes when we get to those moments. It's like, I'm here, you know? It's like, and I feel the exact same as I always do. So how do we find other ways to... I think this is how we can utilize like physical symbols, such as a medal or a reward or whatever, to help us navigate into feeling states that we want to inhabit without needing those exact, details to work out, or even those exact feelings, because you never really know till you know, right? And it's 10:44 here right now, so the 44 is 8, but 44 for me recently especially has been this energy of 44 being this information, but it's almost like a broader, higher information of synchronicity and synchro mysticism. What are the other words they're talking about?
Synchrozen. If you're a synchrozen. Synchrozen is what you are when you're a synchro person.
That information is, I think, transmitted through our even genetics. Over time, kind of like a story is passed down, I think we encounter certain layers of reality and information through these synchronicities if we watch and are taught things. I've learned a lot of big lessons in ways that I never expected to. Through different synchronicities that I feel like are abstractions, these mythologies that are even ancient that we sort of carry forward in our, I don't know how many times I've talked about this on these lives, so if you're hearing this again,
iteration is the key to learning.
I'd love to hear more about it from you. Right? There we go. Iteration is the key to learning. But the repetition of the synchronicities, right? The information coming in broader ways, like say you keep a synchronicity journal, that's almost like your own sort of lesson plan, like how you were feeling, what you were going through, but you really don't even have to. It's this inevitability of your belief system expanding with these broader teachings that are, it's like that mystery school of learning. It's something that I believe, I keep losing it, this is so weird.
Hunter S. Thompson says document everything. And you're doing that in your head. So
the information, right, comes down through, I think, in our DNA. I think even as we're accessing these non-physical sort of understandings and not getting like tied into knots around certain things like angels, fae, the Syrians, I think they represent a broader energy moving through us of that has like sort of lessons and understandings, but even like philosophy and just the histories as we know it. There is the abstractions of mythology, how information is condensed without losing any of it so that it can be passed down. And this is what like the people developing artificial intelligences, that's what they're trying to get robots to learn how to do, so that they have their own sort of cloud to be able to pull from without needing, an algorithm for every little thing.
Because they're really exact and they don't know how to do it.
Right.
Blurry.
And as we connect with each other and form these, like, we're forming a cybernetic freaking sensory network, and that's what I see as now as how I'm referring to these, like, twin flame activations, right? Because, when you know, and if you don't know, it's like, you'll figure it out. But I see it as like a soul family thing. It's not just, it's like the eternal question of humanity. Is it just one, just one you? Of course not. It's like it's all you. What is allowing you to access that deeper unconditional love? Hey, AOE. I was actually going to talk about your tapping session. Amazing job. It's very rare to find someone talking about emotional freedom technique and doing such a good, wholesome job of really getting down into those vibrations of like how we feel and getting them up and out and aware, and then building up into, oh my god, I'll have to tell you that story really quick. After I finished this thought about, we're forming this cybernetic network, right? And so we recognize ourselves in another. It's an instant connection. We're bonded for, forever. And it's not the type of cord that is, the whole narcissist empathy paradigm. It is, it's a knowing of ourselves within ourselves. And so it's a heart connection that goes inwards through that space where we're all connected.
Infinite.
It's infinite, right? And so that's how we're sort of quantum sharing this information in a way that is, for the highest good of all. So, my EFT tapping experience. I got 2 friends. I had learned about it. I was like, all right. I'd been out of money for a long time. I was in college, been awake like a year, and I was like, I'm going to manifest $40. Let's all try, and then we'll go to the city. We'll blow it. We'll just have a good time. I knew exactly what I wanted to spend it on. Started at that karate chop point. Like, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have this $40 to go to the city and yada, yada, yada. And I used Abraham Hicks emotional guidance scale to really chart out prior, like, each freaking level. And just starting in that, it's so hard to make money. I've been so broke for so long. It would be ridiculous to waste that money or whatever. And then going to, it is possible. And I do believe I am a vibrational being. And it's actually more likely to happen to me now that you mention it, because I'm putting so much thought on it. And there are a lot of rich people around, and you never know what could happen. And feeling that the cash in my hand, and we're going to the city. It's a fun time. We're going to catch this shuttle, and we're just like jazzed. And my friend's like, oh, I'm going to check my ATM, see what's going on. My mom's like, I'm going to call my dad, see, maybe he'll let me borrow money. And I'm like in it, and I go to get this sweater that I bought with my coat, but I'd never worn them together. And I'd had it for like a year, so I'm like, I'm going to wear this sweater with my coat tonight, because I'm like, magic. And we're making plans, which ferry we're going to get. And then I pull the coat, or the sweater, off the hanger. And on the hanger, there's a bag. A clear bag with a bank envelope in it. And I remember my parents making me hide my money there. But I also remembered getting all that money out. It was just like a few $100 that I blew on touristy things in the city. A long time ago. And I had moved several times with all these hangers, and been out of money for a while. So, but I'm like, what a cool manifestation that I found a bank envelope I forgot about, right? And I'm like, guys, look, this is so neat. And I see there's a 20 in there. I'm like, holy shit, there's a $20 bill in this bank envelope. Like, that's impossible, first of all. But second of all, wow, how cool. I pull out this stack of dollars, drop it on my table, and I shit you not, it could not have fallen out in a more perfect arrangement of $40 for each of us out of the fucking wall within minutes, and changed my life forever. I was like, holy shit, of course we blew that money. Of course I was still broke for a long time after that, but I didn't even see it as my money. It was like, their power added to it. And it's really what's helped me understand a lot about like timelines and Mandela effects, because I switched, from one collective even to another, so the memories had to change, but the memories didn't fully change. It's like I still kind of remembered. I think as we're expanding in that sort of in these levels of consciousness outside of time, we're beginning to of course with the Mandela effect, en masse people are seeing and having different memories than what actually existed. And
you just manifested $20 earlier too.
I manifested $20 earlier today. Wow, I totally forgot about that. Finding cash everywhere. And last time I was here in New Mexico, me and Zephyr watched a mother and their child meet for, it seemed like, the very first time. They each had completely different memories about their lives. And here they were, just like...
They're much better people
as if
to each other too.
Two souls randomly, like, they just like had walked into their own bodies, but like we're on different timelines. It's just like
they knew different people.
It was nuts. It was wild.
I was like, don't fight it. Just like say, you like him, right? You like her? You're related.
Right? It was nuts because they kept wanting to be like, what? I wasn't a secretary, It's like it was so funny. It was adorable.
It was really weird.
Magical. It was like a Cloud Atlas moment, like to see.
And he brought it up too. We didn't bring up timelines. He brought it up.
Really?
You don't remember that?
I can't. I smoked weed. My memory was. Pond,
and he was just like, his friend mentioned it, and he said something about timelines, and I was like, oh, my ear perked up.
Interesting. Yeah, it was nuts, and I'm finding that even with Zephyr, returning, it was like we're still different people. Every person that we meet, like encountering one another as true, cosmic strangers. why are we holding people to certain timelines or ourselves to certain timelines? And it's not about ignoring or forgetting, right? Because that's what the abstractions are about. It's not about losing information, but about condensing it in a way that is, more efficiently evolved with. Who knows? But soul family for sure. It's like, but this was like they were like real relatives, like a real mother and child. Like it was like
they were totally different before, though. I knew them before, and they were not the same people.
It was nuts.
Kelly was the same, but Nikki wasn't the same. It was different Nikki.
So, if anyone doesn't have any questions or want any cards, I'm going to hop off here and keep this short and sweet. I appreciate y'all showing up. I feel like I got out some really good stuff that I've been wanting to talk about, and I didn't know if I'd put it all in one thing, but this is the one thing where it's all in. So, I adore you all, and have a lovely rest of your Scorpio full moon. Best of grieving to you.
Oh my God. Hello.
Zephyr saying bye. So cute. Oh my God.
I'm no makeup.
I wouldn't even. Wow. That's the crazy thing about meeting people from like the Soberish community or whatever. It's like, y'all are so cute in person. Like, y'all need better pictures.
The camera.
Update your pictures. Sarah Brown. Oh my God. She looks like 14 years old, like younger than me. And just wide eyed. She's not the same person in her pictures. Nimue. Holy cow.
She's so pretty though.
Nimue is absolutely gorgeous on camera. But in person, like Nimue is shapeshifter.
Because the way
just
she
fucking
moves.
just
Yeah.
becomes something different all the time. And yeah, Zephyr's just like this like fae like little lady just in her like cottage with a big old garden. I just like didn't even, just adorable. All right, I'm gonna get off here. Bye bye now. Bye now.
Sacral energy.
Bye
Wind
now.
it back up.
Bye now. Okay, bye. Okay, bye.
Bye bye.
Okay.
Bye.